So when you're watching some of the best setters in the world, it's clear that they're all different, right? Their hands, their style, their physiology, their technique, it's not the same. So how do we choose and how do we know what's effective and what's not? Well, throughout the years of playing and coaching under different systems and for different coaches, I came to a conclusion in my journey that some things are just more effective than others. And I developed a list of principles that are extremely important when you're training your setters. So here are the principles, and this list can be applied for all ages and all levels, and will serve again as a foundation to the skill of setting. So the first one is responsibility. That's the biggest thing. Understanding the demands of the position, and being a setter is not for everyone. If you're choosing your setters because they are the shortest or have the weakest arm, you're going to be in big trouble. The biggest responsibility of a setter is to make everyone and everything around them better. At the beginning of every semester at ASU, I have a meeting with the setters to establish some ground rules. And the first thing I tell them is, if and when anything bad happens, it's your fault. And they're always like, what? And I repeat, I tell them, it doesn't matter the situation, it's always going to be your fault. And I say that with the hope and with the objective in mind that setters need to understand that they have to take responsibility for everything. I'm holding them accountable by laying out the reality of the position. Responsibility is your ability to respond. And when you take responsibility, you have the power to respond. Because most of the time, by thinking we're not a part of the problem, we also excuse ourselves from being a part of the solution. So also, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a doormat and people can blame you for everything. No, no, no. It means you're mature. It means you're choosing to take action. It means you're choosing to get better, even if that means looking bad sometimes. If your teammate's late, if someone gives you a bad pass, if your team loses, if your team has a bad practice, if the ref makes a bad call, if one of your teammates is having a bad day, I tell them, make it your fault. This is how you're always going to be a part of the solution. And that's, for me, the biggest responsibility of a setter, making everyone and everything around them better. Number two, good overtime. The word here is consistency, and the best way to train that is to have simple mechanics. When you watch great setters, that's not a lot going on with their mechanics. They run to the ball, they bring their hands up, they're extending their arms with open hands in the direction of the release. Great setters look smooth and simple is repeatable, and it's also effective. So the biggest limiting factor players have are flaws in their mechanical movements because they're not simple. So when I think about simplicity, I think about the word accuracy, and I think the word accuracy plays such an important role here. Every set is specific to the situation. Every set has to have the right pace, the right arc, the right height. It goes way beyond setting a hittable ball. And I've heard that so many times. And, I believe when you're saying that, you're downplaying the reality of the position. In basketball, for example, do you tell your point guard to pass a shootable ball, or do you tell your quarterback to throw a catchable pass? No, because your offense needs to know how fast and how high and where the ball is going. So good setters are accurate with the ball, and the set goes to where they want, how they want, with the tempo they want. To summarize, they set the offense with great accuracy, with tempo and rhythm, and they give attackers opportunity to take good swings. And at the end of the day, you're looking for a maestro. Setters have to be good at running tempo. And once they really understand that, it will draw the line in between having someone that has the ability to redirect the ball to someone that is a real setter. Number 3, seeing the game as a whole doesn't mean you're seeing the whole game. And it's the same thing as being mindful as opposed to having your mind full. The same thing as reacting versus responding. And there are 2 parts here. Being aware of your team and being aware of the game. Great setters are accurate, right? We got that out of the way, but the best setters make people around them better. They invest in relationships, they get to know their teammates, and they know what makes them great. So awareness of your team is extremely important. And then there is the awareness of the game. For example, you're coaching your team and you call the timeout, and you tell your setter, okay, we're gonna run the quick on a good pass. And your team gets back to the court and the other team serves, and your team shanks a pass. And you see your setter running, and your setter is down her knees and she's forcing the quick, and the middle is not even approaching. And and I'm like, what are you doing? And I believe we have all been there. So great setters, they have the ability to filter information mid-rally to recognize what's important and what's possible in the moment. Number 4, on top of all of that, we need to make the right choices. You don't have a lot of time to analyze, make a plan, and execute. Maybe you have 2 seconds in between plays. So anybody can run and set a ball, but making the right choice is hard. That's why the setter has to be trained and developed physically and especially mentally. And good setters, they execute the fundamentals without mental mistakes. Okay, that's where the magic happens. So how do we train all of that? When we talk about training, we need to talk about teaching. And when we talk about teaching, we gotta follow some laws of learning. As coaches, we need to teach people how to learn. So at Arizona State, we like using lots of external feedback, external focus when we teach. And the research says that external focus affects motor learning by directing the attention to the outcomes of the actions instead of to the actions themselves. And we use a system that I believe simplifies the way we teach, which is we break down the skills into little chunks, and that we like to call keys. And we do that. When we do that, we build a foundation like we talked about. The stronger the foundation, the better your players can respond to the variations of the game. And we really like this system because it's easy to memorize, it's easy to remember, it's simple to execute, and it's also a great way to break old behaviors and create new patterns. Because at the end of the day, what we're looking for is transfer. So here's our key number 1. We start from top to bottom, meaning hands first, and then we go down to feet. And really good hands, they will make up for bad feet. The key number 1 is frame. If I would define the concept of frame, would be bring both hands up early at the same time, like a unit, to the top of your forehead. Your hands have to be ball shaped, and your point of contact has to be high. That's not very simple or easy to memorize. So we use the word frame. And when I'm teaching, I like to show them images and videos of how that should look like. Because volleyball is a visual motor sport, and showing your players is much better than telling. Key number 2 is guide. And I like to use guide as a concept of redirecting the ball as you follow through. We want the setters to have an even extension and finish it down the target line, or what we like to call the arc of the set. You can easily measure the strength behind the ball when you think about guiding. I often use the analogy of a handgun and a sniper rifle. And the sniper rifle is more accurate, again, accuracy. Here's a little visual for you guys. We want to have the fundamentals in place and develop movement patterns that are consistent. If you don't have the fundamentals in place, then your players don't have the groundwork to execute the movements efficiently. So this is important. Here's our Sarah Kelly Jones. Here they are. Frame up, and she's guiding the ball all the way down the target line through the arc.